Oh, yes. Welcome and welcome back to You Bleeping Nerds, UBN, the podcast where we talk about nerd things, giving you anime episode breakdowns and giving you news on the industry, hanging out with you guys. I am your host. So glad for you to be here. It's your boy A. How y'all been, man? Haven't seen y'all since, what's today, Monday? I haven't seen y'all since Friday. You know, when we broke down Dan to Dan. Season finale of Dan to Dan. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that episode of the season finale of Dan to Dan Breakdown. Go watch that episode. I mean, if you're not watching Dan to Dan, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's up with you. But thanks for tuning into my show. But today, you know what I'm saying, we got some more industry nerd news. Some bleeping nerd news for you. On top of this Kaiju number 8, episode 22 breakdown, Cataclysms. Another jam. Love Kaiju number 8. Absolutely love it. Another really great episode today. You know, not a lot of Kafka in it, but that's okay. Because the other characters really spotlighted today. But before we get into all that, please like and subscribe. Subscribe to all the things, all the social. Hit us up on Bleepin' Nerd at X, Zitter, Twitter, whatever they're calling it over there these days, you know. Hit us up on there. You know, join the Reddit. You Bleepin' Nerds. Go ahead and check that out. I post the episodes in there and, just come hang out. You know, there's nobody in there right now. But just go ahead and hang out with us. You know, if you're on Reddit, check it out in there. What else are we on? Oh, join the YouTube. You know, subscribe to the YouTube. Listen to us on YouTube. You know, You Bleepin' Nerds. And we're gonna add some more socials. But thanks, most importantly, subscribe to the podcast, listen to the podcast, recommend the podcast. You know, you and your friends like anime, if you and your friends like nerd things, then, come hang out with us. Because we just hanging out, doing nerd stuff. You know how we do, But our first segment here, moving right along. Some bleeping nerd news. Bleeping nerd news. Dun-dun-dun. All right, boom. That's the intro, by the way, if you guys didn't know. All right. First piece of news here. If you guys listen to this show at all, you know what I'm saying? Again, welcome back, But if you guys listen to this show before, I have shared my thoughts and my concerns on AI in the industry. I love art. I love animation. I love these mediums, these forms of storytelling. And I've kind of warned against the dangers of AI in the industry, generative AI. And we have a couple of stories here that's kind of highlighting that. All right, so our first story here, this one's by, Timothy Blake Donahue, excuse me. Timothy Blake from CBR. Bandai essentially is complaining. Bandai is essentially complaining that there are people creating fake toy ads for Dragon Ball Z and like other products, One Piece, Gundam, and stuff like that. So essentially, people are using AI, generative AI, to create fake upcoming figures. Using Bandai's logos and, official shows logos and things like that. And it's really a huge concern from Bandai because, now, these are creating like widespread misinformation. Entire like toy lines and sequences that are just not coming out. And these people are creating identical advertisements using, AI in order to, create these posts online. And it's become a real issue for Bandai. I got a quote here from the article. Go read the article by Timothy Blake on CBR. As noted by Bandai, some of these images, depending on what they contain, could be considered copyright infringement if they're touted as being official. If it's meant to lull fans into believing that these official toys are coming down the pipeline, legal action might be taken. So this is again another example of my concern of what's happening. When it comes to AI, it seems like they're really taking aim at the things I love, the creative industry, the animated industry. And, companies like Bondi and, other companies. We got another story here. This one's, really interesting. This next one here we got by Cartoon Brew. But yeah, AI is impacting, animation and creation in general, obviously on the biggest scale possible. And we're really at the beginning. It's the scale. I feel like we keep saying this, like AI keeps getting better and better and better, and we just keep repeating that. And we're only at the beginning, which is like kind of it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And I'm not trying to like scare you guys. I'm not trying to like frighten you guys. But that's not the only story we got here. So moving along, our second story. This one's covered by Jamie Lang over there at Cartoon Brew. And if you guys don't know what Cartoon Brew is, it's a fantastic website where they cover essentially animation. They do some of the best coverage with things like short stories and small time creators and film festivals and creator contests and stuff like that. Go over there and check out Cartoon Brew. They do a fantastic job covering that stuff. It's a great place to find out what might be up next in the industry. A lot of these things come from short stories and small novels and short form animated creation that websites like Cartoon Brew covers, and eventually they become the big thing. But you can usually see them on Cartoon Brew first. So this second article by Cartoon Brew. Tech bros take aim at Cannes, which is the film festival, with Gen AI produced animated feature Critters. Okay, so essentially there's this company that has partnered with OpenAI. The company is LA Native Foreign and London's Vertical Films. Those are the two studios that have partnered with OpenAI. You guys know OpenAI, the AI company. And they're gonna try to make a movie, like a blockbuster feature film, animated film that is primarily going to be generated with AI. To me, this is a enormous deal. This might be the beginning, and the beginning of the end, the beginning of the beginning and the beginning of the end, of animation as we know it. As I've talked about on previous episodes, my fear is something that looks a lot like this, where studios are going to try to relentlessly pursue. Remember that phrase, relentlessly pursue ways to use AI to specifically attack things like this, right? If they can create animated films with basically two people instead of, dozens and dozens of people, they are going to relentlessly pursue that endeavor. And I think this is going to be another step toward. Now, this was reported last week by the Wall Street Journal that OpenAI is backing the previously announced feature-length animated film Critters, which will rely on extensive input from generative AI during its production, planned for Cannes' debut in 2026. The project is being produced by London. Again, we said that, it's produced by London's Vertical Films and LA's Native Foreign, which is another, production company. But yeah, basically OpenAI is giving them the money. They're giving them the tools to actually create this. And then these two studios are going to try to put it together. It's based off of a previously generated short, I think also called Critters. If you go to Cartoon Brew, you guys, I might actually put a link in my description to this article so you guys can go ahead and read the article and watch this short. But essentially, it's like a fake planet Earth thing, and you see the AI critters and they're all kind of just fuzzy, and you could tell they're going for like a Pixar-ish light kind of feel, right? You can see what they're going for, right? You see what they're taking aim at. And it was cool. It's okay. It's fine. It wasn't that funny. It was kind of funny, I guess. It was kind of cute, I guess, but it wasn't anything amazing. But I think more importantly, this is an attempt to try to hollow out rooms in production. These are jobs. This is jobs that are on the line here. These are spaces for creators to these are spaces for creators to make money, right? Doing things like this. And there's a quote in the article saying that they want to quote unquote democratize the system, democratize animation and give people anybody can basically do it. And in the article, this is an opinion piece, but the article basically agrees with me, where it's like, yeah, it's already democratized by skill, and an ability and vision and innovation and all those things. That's why it's one of the hardest industries to be in, period, because there's so many amazing artists across the world who are all, just looking for a way to make a living using their gift and using their passion. And I think AI is directly attacking these people. I think AI is directly threatening the livelihoods of not just like the best and biggest artists, right? But those classes under them, those tiers under those people, where you when you start creating shorts with AI, you know what I'm saying? Like, that limits the opportunity at the ground level for people to kind of build up, right? And it will. And the idea that anyone can use AI to create something, it's like, well, that's not going to be true, right? Like that's not going to be true. One, people who are not technologically savvy, they're going to be at massive disadvantage, right? And you can say, well, they're already that, in art now, but that's going to become exasperated, right? Not to mention, like, if you need AI to create things, like, the poverty gap, right, and the opportunity for people who honestly just can't get their hands on that type of technology to do it. We're not going to get into all that. But again, no, I don't. No, bad. I don't like this. I don't buy this. I'm not going to say don't support it, right, because you still have human beings behind this. But the spirit of this, to me, the vision of this, I think this is a step. I think this is a step that major corporations are conspiring in order to hollow out, writers' rooms, animators, literally everything. And because they're corporations and they're going to relentlessly pursue money. So that's the end of the second story. I'm done pontificating. I'm done, preaching from on high about the dangers of AI with my first two stories. I'm going to talk about something lighter here in the third story. Still not. It's an end of an era, right, of some sort. It's more good news though. A series that I love. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Series is set to end. It's gonna end. I think this year. It's gonna end here on November 9th after 11 years. One of my favorite series. This was reported in a bunch of places too, but this I got this again. Check out my boy Chike at Anime Quarter. Like I said, best in the game. But yeah, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, ending after 11 years. This is the light novel. It's the greatest selling light novel of all time. 45 million copies in circulation right now. That's sensational. Shout out to Fuse, for doing the story. It's a good thing, right? This is the end of success. Things have to end. All good things have to come to an end. I remember when I first found That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. If you guys know me at all, I have mixed feelings about isekai. I think there's just way too much of it. Way too much of it. I wish we spent less isekai energy doing isekai things, and I wish we were doing more original, more well thought out, more just thoughtful plots and storyline. Shout out to Mitzvah, who did the art for the light novel. It's just makes me a little sad, right? I love Rimuru. I love what he built there. I love just the whole story, and I think what makes it unique as an isekai, again, there's levels to this shit. There's levels to these things, and I just think it was just higher quality level of isekai. Um, Obviously, it has all the beats. It follows it is like a beat for beat, like perfect form isekai, but main character, likable, lovable. The way they made the power sets is very fun. It's kind of like Mushoku Tensei, where it's like it's just so much. It's done at such a high level, story wise and power wise and action scene wise. Animation too was beautiful, beautifully done. That it just stood above the rest, in my opinion. I'd put Overlord in this category as well, to where like not all isekai is the same. And I kind of just wish there wasn't so much of it. But, there is levels of it. And that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Top tier isekai. Top tier light novel. Gonna miss you. There's like a bunch of spin-offs. Like, there's still more content coming. Like, there's a bunch of spin-offs coming. So we're definitely not done with the world. You got a movie coming. It'll be the 4th movie that's coming in February. So, still gonna see plenty Rimuru. Still gonna see plenty of the gang. But as for the original light novel, it will be ending. It will be ending in November, and good on you, man. Have a day. Have a day, Tensuru. Have a day. Fantastic. And that's gonna end our news segment. So I don't want to bum you guys out with my doom and gloom and things coming to an end. But that's it for our news segment. We're gonna go ahead and move on to this episode breakdown of Kaiju number 8, episode 22. Cataclysms. Taking a look back to last episode. It was more of a setup episode. We saw, the Kaiju kind of, they poked their head out, didn't do much, and then at the end, it's kind of ready, set, go, right? And, that's where they left us. And now we're here. And jumping into the opening episode, episode 22, first 2 minutes, all hell breaks loose. How else am I going to put this? All hell breaks loose. They open us up at a wedding of one of our boys from the Disposal Squad. Shout out to him. They're joking about Kafka not being there. They put his picture there, because he couldn't make it. He's on standby doing this thing. We'll talk about him later. But wedding starts, and this look, I'm gonna share. I'm gonna open up to you guys. I'm a single dad. You know what I'm saying? So this moment touched me in some places. Him being a single dad, her working down the aisle. You know what I'm saying? She got to get on him. Like, man, why the hell you more nervous to me? I'm like, nah, get off that man. You know what I'm saying? He done put in a lot of work. I know. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact. Like, that man's put in a lot of work. So, shout out to him. Shout out to y'all. Walks her down the aisle. Beautiful view. Beautiful window looking down. Weddings at looks like it's in a skyscraper. Flash in, flash out. Boom, there's Kaiju outside. And as I said, all hell breaks loose. Buses in. Absolutely just wrecks the place. People dying, right? And this is what we talked about before, right? Where last episode was, we call it our breather development episode. Just kind of, setting things up, getting us ready. Lots of training montages, lots of conversations in rooms, right? Now it's time, right? Now it's go time. So right away, wedding gets wrecked. People getting eaten. We're getting an alarm. At the deployment center, at the dispatch of the Japanese Defense Force. Obviously it pops up, but there's just a ton of Kaiju sightings, tons of Kaiju contact, all over the entire country. It's really time, right? It's full on wartime. This is the beginning of an all-out Kaiju assault. Kaiju number 9 promised us this. He said, we're coming. We're prepared for war. And this is it, right? This is the first salvo in number 9's war. And I love it, baby. I love the scale right? Dealing with kaiju, you're dealing with the scale of like entire cities and whole neighborhoods and stuff like that being destroyed. But now, like, all of Japan is being attacked by kaiju at all fronts, land, air, and sea. It's so cool. It's so cool to watch. Jumping back into the wedding, homie's daughter about to get eaten. Thank God, Captain Narumi pops in. Number weapon suit pops in. I think he's number 1 he has with the weapon suit and the eyes. Comes in, dope ass slashing scene, action scene where he, chops it up, saves her, doesn't let her get eaten, secures the situation. Dope, right? Just absolutely dope. This is the first time we see Narumi in the number 1 suit. Using the eyes, he's just untouchable, right? He's clearly just untouchable. He looks cool, right? Looks really, really cool. This episode had a ton of good action in it. From the kaijus popping up, the action. Honestly, the kaiju, they were a bit generic in this episode. I'm not generic. They were designed pretty cool, particularly here in part 1. You saw a bunch of different types of kaiju. The spider kaiju on the communication towers, probably my favorite ones. Just those are the ones that scared me the most. But Narumi pops in, shuts it down. Secures the situation. Talks to Ashiro. She secured her front. So you see units 1 and 3. They're deployed in the field. There's kaiju everywhere. And yeah, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. So it's just, good ultimate scene. Like I said, the wedding really touched my heart. The wedding really touched my heart. Really, I'm really excited at this point, right? I'm really excited because it's all hands on deck. But yeah, we pop into part 2. Really the meat of the episode, and we pop over to Hikaru. It's her time to get deployed in the field. We're going to see the first time real action in the field of her number 4 suit. One thing that was really cool, obviously, when they shot her into battle on the pod, I thought that was really, really cool. How it can fly and, be deployed using, like, obviously it has, like, electric power. So it's like an electric rail kind of gun, shot it across, the country, at least the city, right? To go deal with the kaiju. She emerges from the pod after flying, like lightning across. And, you really get to see her to get busy. Part 2 really had, like, the big chunk of, like, the nice meaty action. It was really, really nice to see. You see the headquarters kind of monitoring the battle, making comments on, hey, there's kaiju everywhere. We've never seen anything like that before. They've made that point a lot, where this is very much unprecedented for them. And that's, obviously that's a problem. And you're seeing them have to deploy all of their weapons. They're really pulling out all their big guns, right? Right now, to have to come deal with this, so many threats in so many places. It's really been fun to watch, right? You get Hikaru in her suit, butterfly wing vibe. I was digging it, right? I like the suit. The suit's nice. Her powers are pretty cool. Obviously, we've seen her use her axe basically from the beginning of the series. She got her axe last season. She obviously is rocking the suit now. She's been training with Narumi. We saw that last couple of episodes, actually. And yeah, we're seeing the fruits of that labor here, right? Just like with Ichikawa, like Reno, when he first tested out his, I believe, number 6 suit, we're really getting to see what number 4 can do. And boy, can it do some things. Speed-based kind of suit, right? I think that's a common theme across all the suits. I think they all just, everybody has super speed now, we're all flying around here now. They made the comment on number 4 that it's the only one that can fly, which is pretty dope, right? Makes her pretty unique. I thought it was pretty cute how they made the comment, make the comment about her abilities, where she's a combination of both of her parents. Obvious, it's pretty. I think obviously they were building towards that. Her entire character is that's what she is. She's the prodigy child of two prodigious former defense captain leaders, and this is the product. This is the product of it, and she's doing work, right? She's doing work, so it was pretty cool to see. She didn't do anything too crazy, like fighting wise, but it was cool to see how she works, how fast she moves, how much damage she does. She's just like popping kaiju. She's just taking them, cutting them clean in half on one shot, right? She's an entire battalion in herself. Great job to see. Great to see Hikaru too, right? I felt bad for her when her daddy got killed. So I felt, it's really cool to see her have her moment here. And even before we move on, I do want to make a comment too. Like, it's always the little things for me. I love how the crew that was supporting her battalion that was supporting her, switched to more tactical rounds, like freeze rounds, to kind of keep the kaiju in place, to take advantage of her speed. That way, they're actually still being useful, right? Like you make the best use of a lightning fast killing machine by just keeping the targets in place, so she could just literally go one by another, just obliterating them, no problem. And I like that the author has those kind of like tactical moves in mind. It really shows that they're really thinking deep, and they're really thinking about the battle, right? One thing I love about this show is that when they fight, there's a tactical element to this. Obviously there's powers and suits and all that beautiful stuff, but there are still rules, right? There's rules that have been established in this world, and like the tactical elements that have been established in the game, using the weapons, not the game, excuse me, in the show, using the weapons, all that stuff. Really, really cool. So great job, Kaiju number 8. But moving on to this next part. If you guys been listening to this podcast at all, you guys know me by now. So oh baby, we're here. My baby Hoshino. Number 10 suit deployed to the field. I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting for this, baby. Ooh, baby, I've been waiting for this. I love Hoshino. I think he's the coolest character in the show. Call me cliche, call me a nerd, I don't care. Call me what you call me, I don't care. I love Hoshino. I think he's the dopest. And we're getting to see him here in the number 10 suit immediately before they even deploy. He's just a joy to have on screen. I love the design of the suit. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so cool. That dark burgundy red. Obviously, number 10, was a bright red kaiju. So, with the long tail and, the one eye, was like a cyclops. And, you see the eye in his chest. The suit talks. Number 10 talks to him through his chest. He has a tail that number 10 controls. It seems like the only thing number 10 controls in the suit is the tail. It seems like Hoshino controls the rest of it. Before they even get into the fight, I love the relationship between these two. I love anything with Hoshino. Like I said, I love Kafka's relationship, Ashiro's relationship. I love Hoshino. I'm a Hoshino stan. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan. I'm a stan. You know what I'm saying? For Hoshino. He's the dopest. But I really do love the relationship between number 10 and Hoshino. Because it's so combative, right? Yet it's complimentative. Hoshino is always kind of the type to play it cool, but he's got a rough side to him, and we've seen it. Like we've seen the warrior in Hoshino come out, training with Kafka, right? When he got hurt, holding the heavy bag for him, holding the punching bag for him, he came back with some non-equal force. We've seen him get fired up in battle, particularly against number 10 last season. So there's a killer in there. It's Hoshino, baby. There's a killer in there. And number 10 knows it. He's felt it. He's fought it. And that's why he's here. He wants to fight with it. And from the jump, it's just hilarity. Number 10 don't listen. He just doesn't listen. cuts open the bottom of the helicopter, which is just hilarious. They literally just had a conversation of like, hey man, just listen to me or we're both gonna die. And he was like, great. And then he just chops open the bottom of the helicopter. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, and that was indicative of how the entire fight was gonna go. It was indicative of how the entire thing was gonna go. Cause man, the man just doesn't listen. Typically, Hoshino's dual wielding style, he wants to fight tactfully, quickly, attack weak points, put himself in the best, possible. Number 10 don't roll like that. Number 10 is not rolling like that at all. He's like, nah, baby, let's scrap it out. Let's get in the mud, baby. Let's go. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, and he's tanking blows. He's not dodging stuff. He's running head on to enemy. He got them surrounded on purpose. Like, and it's a bit of a comedy act, obviously. But they're so strong, they're fine. They're not syncing up. It's just at first he drops out. It's just not working, right? It's just not working. Until the part that turns the fight is when Hoshino basically gives himself over to the fighting style of number 10, right? When he just basically decides like, okay, we're gonna do it your way, right? Because you're just stubborn, like you're just not gonna work. And like he's like, screw it, fuck it, like we'll just have to do it your way then, right? And again, I love this, right? This is just another little note in their relationship to where it's like number 10 is just stubborn, right? And as much as you're the wielder of the weapon, number 10 is literally like no weapon that's ever been created ever in history. He is sentient. He has feelings. He wants to do things his way. And as much as you want to be his master, right? You saw that him talking to him in the helicopter. He's like, look, I'm in charge here. One of my favorite quotes is, shut up and let me use you. Yeah. Okay. That's one of my favorites. Like, all right. I don't know. Like, look, like they're like a married couple. Like they have like weird kaiju sexual energy. Like they do. Like it gets a little weird. It gets a little weird between these two. I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, like, what turned the fight is Hoshino letting go and basically saying, leaning more into how number 10 wants to do things. We see the connection percentage go up, topping out at 77%. We see the raw power that they have, right? Where both Hoshino and Kaiju number 10 are just absurd monster powerhouses. Just absurd monster powerhouses. So even at 70%, you can see the destructive power. They cleared out an entire one-way. Just immediately, took no time. Basically took no damage the entire time. Like, they're fucking around the whole time. And they take basically no damage. Just kind of shows you how strong they actually are. They allude to where it's like, once he gets to 90%, we've never seen anything this strong. And it's really, really, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. So, well done. Criticism, I really enjoy the speed element of Hoshino's fighting style. So we see a little bit of it, but we don't lean so much into his like speed and like, his slicing, cutting ability, which, that's one thing I really love about Hoshino. So I kind of wish there was more of that, but I do think it's going to be interesting because they fought a bunch of kaiju. They were surrounded by kaiju and they were kind of just dispatching them. They were fodderish, they were fodder monsters. I'm interested to see what happens when he has to lock in on one opponent and what his fighting style is going to look like. The way the tail is going to offer this like, this 360 dimension to where, having to fight Hoshino and just literally the suit itself. I think that's going to be cool. I can't wait to see that. This was just like a little taste, a little warm up. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit, just to get you what you need. But yeah, after Hoshino kind of gives in Um, you can see, diving into more of the relationship between number 10 and Hoshino, you can see Hoshino kind of using mind games, psychological tactics to draw out more of number 10. He's understanding his partner now. He's understanding that, like, I can't force you to be what I want you to be. So, like, we have to find something that we can be together. And I like concepts like this. Like, I like the idea that Hoshino understood that, like, hey, look, if we're gonna do anything, right, if we're gonna be as strong as we can be, then, like, I need to kind of give up something, right? I'm the wielder, yes, but I have to respect my partner, which is my weapon, number 10. And I thought that's cool, right? Like, that's one reason I love this character. I love this character. You saw that with Kafka, where it's like, I'm gonna train you to help make you stronger and make you better, because honestly, what choice do we have, right? Like, it's, I don't want it to go this way. I'd rather not have it this way. But, for the good of everyone, for the good of you, I'm gonna, spend this time, and teach you what I know. And it's like, this is a common theme we see with him, to where he's an emotionally intelligent character. Like, he sees the situation and goes, like, you know what? Like, even with number 10, right? Like, if he wouldn't have promised and kept his promise to use number 10, we would have never even known about this attack from number 9. We would have never had the information that we did. But he against his own better judgment, against his own feelings, he recognized the situation and made a very, very smart decision, right? And it's like, that's why I love Hoshino. See, if you guys think I'm, crazy for Hoshino, you're right. I'm crazy for that man. He's a great character. Love Hoshino. So yeah. Moving on. Hoshino just, he crushes. Absolutely just crushes the runway. We get a tasty taste of what number 10 is capable of. And even at the end, you see, like, after they kill all the kaiju, number 10's like, hey, let's fight the soldiers next. Right? Let's fight the soldiers next. Let's just, all right, we killed all those guys. He's talking about, I'm tired of fighting kaiju. Like we've been fighting kaiju all day. Like, I want to fight something else now. Jesus, like, can we play a new game? Like, God, trying to walk off, he slams the tail that he controls into the ground to stay. He doesn't want to leave. He's like a little kid. He doesn't want to leave Chuck E. Cheese. It's cute. It's cute. He's a city-destroying monster warrior knight that's been reincarnated into a super suit, but he's cute. And I dig it, man. And I dug this scene. So great job, Kaiju number 8, on that. And that's basically the end of part 2. Like I said, that was the chunkiest part. And what we're seeing is that we're getting busy, right? All those things we've been building to. Number 4, number 10, where we're seeing the fruits of all the labor. We're seeing Narumi in his number 1 suit, just awesome. Man, that guy's dope. Like, I don't know. I gotta get me like a kaiju number 8, like 2D fighting game, because, like, I want to play as Narumi. Like, I do. I want to hit somebody with an 8 hit combo. Like, man. Oh, these, like, all the characters, like, there's so many cool characters, and it's shonen, right? Like, this isn't the first anime that has, like, a smorgasbord of, like, likable characters, right? It's kind of the idea. But it's, it's easier said than done, right? And to have, I would say I have 5 characters in Kaiju number 8 that I genuinely love. Like, I like them all for different reasons. It's just sign of good writing. You can tell there's a thoughtfulness put into all the characters and the roles they play in each other's lives and in the story. And it's something, when stories really matter to you, like me, it's something that I always want to call out, is that really, really, really good writing. Like, even in this episode, to where we still see the relationship between Narumi and Hikaru, right? We still see that, calling him my idiot student, my idiot master, right? We're still having this callback. Even in the first episode, they put Kafka's picture there. because that's one of his disposal crew buddies back in the day. It's one of his old coworkers, right? And he didn't make the wedding, but he wanted him there. And it's where, even though we're fighting giant monsters and it's about as shonen as shonen gets, like, I still think it does a very good job of doing the human stuff, doing the people stuff. So shout out to them for that. But moving to our Ignis segment, part 3. 6 giant kaiju pop out. They're talking to Kafka. He wants to get into the field, right? Because they're like a gigantic kaiju. There's just no way, small people can deal with it. But they tell him don't. And they reveal that they don't want him in the field because they don't want number 9 to find him and absorb him. He's their ace against them, right? Number 9's regenerative ability is ridiculous. Basically, he can bring kaiju back to life. He can regenerate essentially infinitely. The only thing that interrupts that is kaiju number 8's attacks, and I would imagine number 4 probably does something similar. But yeah, he's their ace. He's gotta be there because he's the key against number 9 later. Which, again, I talked about this earlier, that he's just gonna be sidelined, right? We're showcasing the other characters, right? Narumi, Hikaru, Renu's probably gonna pop out at some point now with number 6. We just saw Hoshino again. Like, again, we're showcasing the strength and the youth in the next generation, in this kaiju war. And the main character is just, he was sidelined in this episode, right? Not a lot of Kafka. But that's okay, right? Like, again, this is I thought this was good. I thought this was good development. And then at the end, basically the end of the episode, you see Captain Ashura, in her giant Giga cannon, right? Locked and loaded, ready to go. But they leave us there on that cliffhanger on that episode. And that is the end of Kaiju number 8, episode 22. Cataclysms. Overall, good episode. Good episode, right? Not, not mind blowing, not necessarily, like, oh my God, y'all gotta see this kind of episode, but no, a good episode of TV. Love the suits, right? I really enjoyed number 10 and that whole sequence with him, that the whole comedy duo routine between him and number 10. Again, it's Hoshino, so of course I did. I love seeing Hikaru in the field, right? Like, I thought she was really good. Thought it was fun to see her. I can't wait to see more of what she does, again, when she's got to fight a more pronounced opponent. Again, we saw the suits in the field and got to look at their designs, but, they're fighting fodder kaiju, right? They're just kind of dispatching them in waves and stuff like that and kind of stretching their legs a little bit. We haven't really seen what they can do against the more significant kaiju that popped up, especially the ones a couple of episodes ago. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But again, I love Kaiju number 8. I'm never disappointed when I watch the show. I'm never disappointed, especially at the end, at the highest of high moments. Like, I think once we really get busy in this war, we kind of just started the war. We got a little tasty taste. But I think once we really get busy, it's going to be fantastic. So, but again, that's the end of our episode breakdown. And thank you guys for hanging out here at You Bleepin' Nerds, UBN, for this Kaiju number 8 episode breakdown. Tune in with us on Friday, where we're gonna probably just kind of catch up on some stuff that we haven't really covered, stuff that's ending or has ended. We're probably gonna do Summer Hikaru Died. That show, love that show. We're probably gonna cover that Friday. We're probably gonna talk about To Be Hero X 2. Tune in with us, every Monday and Friday, where we bring you guys industry news and episode breakdowns. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. I love doing this, man. Hang out with us. Subscribe to the socials at Bleepin' Nerd, at X, Twitter, Zitter Twitter. You know what I'm saying? At Bleepin' Nerds. Subscribe to the YouTube at You Bleepin' Nerds on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast, like the podcast, share the podcast. You know what I'm saying? so we can grow what we do. Hit us up on the socials. Talk, tell me what you want me to talk about. I'll watch anything, right? If somebody tells me it's good, I'll watch it. So hit us up on the socials. Tell us something you want us to, you guys want to talk about. We can chat about it. I'll brush up on it. But thanks again for another episode of You Bleeping Nerds. I am your boy A. This is You Bleeping Nerds UBN. And thanks for spending time with us, man. See you guys Monday. See you guys Friday. Peace.